All right, today we're jumping into the incredible, timeless story of Jacob. This is a guy whose whole life was basically a masterclass in figuring out how you really receive blessings from God. It's an amazing story of transformation, so let's get right to it.
So at its core, this whole story is trying to answer a huge question, one we all probably think about. How do you actually get a blessing from God? Is it something you have to grab, something you've got to earn, or is there another way?
To figure that out, let's meet the man himself, Jacob. And honestly, his name tells you everything you need to know about where his story begins.
So get this. His name, Jacob, it literally means supplanter. Someone who replaces someone else. And it's so fitting because he was born second, literally holding on to the heel of his twin brother Esau, like he was trying to pull him back and take his spot from the very first second.
And right there, you've got the setup for some major family drama. See, back then, the firstborn son, that was Esau, he got the birthright. That meant a bigger inheritance, leadership, the whole deal. But Jacob, the second son, he was ambitious, and he was determined to get that blessing for himself, one way or another.
Yeah, as you can probably guess, all the scheming, it did not end well. It blew up the family, creating so much conflict that Jacob literally had to run for his life. And this is what kicks off his long, hard journey out in the wilderness, all alone.
So now he's on the run, and it's out there in the middle of nowhere that he starts to learn some really tough but crucial lessons about what's actually important.
I mean, just think about that classic story, right? Jacob catches his brother Esau, who's just starving after a long day. And Jacob offers him a bowl of stew, just a simple meal to fix his hunger right now.
But there's a catch, and it's a big one. He wants Esau's birthright in exchange. And Esau, only thinking about his rumbling stomach, he actually agrees. He trades this massive, eternal inheritance for something that's gone in 5 minutes.
Esau's choice is such a powerful lesson, isn't it? He chose the temporary over the eternal. And it really makes you stop and think, what are the bowls of stew in our lives? The quick fixes that might be distracting us from the blessings that really matter. All right, let's move on to the next huge moment in Jacob's journey. He's still a fugitive, and he has this absolutely life-altering dream. He's in a place he later names Bethel, which means the house of God.
In this dream, he sees a ladder, and it's stretching all the way from the ground right up to heaven, with angels going up and down. I mean, wow. The experience is so powerful that when he wakes up, his whole perspective has shifted. He realizes that even here, in this lonely, rocky place, God is with him.
And this is a huge light bulb moment for him. He starts to understand what covenants are all about. That ladder, it's a connection to heaven. And he learns that by making promises with God and keeping them, that's how we tap into God's power and feel his presence in our own lives.
Okay, so now we jump forward years later, and we're at the absolute climax of this whole story. God tells Jacob it's time to go home, time to face his past, and that includes facing Esau.
So he's heading home to face the brother he totally betrayed. And let me tell you, he is not the same confident, clever guy anymore. The scripture says he was greatly afraid and distressed. He knows his old tricks aren't going to get him out of this one.
And this is where you really see how much he's changed. The old Jacob, he would have cooked up some complicated plan. But the new Jacob, he turns to God. He just humbly prays, admits he's terrified, and begs for help to fix this broken relationship.
This leads to that famous story where he wrestles all night with a divine being. He clings on and says, "I will not let thee go, except thou bless me." But here's the key difference. He isn't fighting to take a blessing anymore, like he tried with Esau. He's wrestling with all his might, showing his faith, and refusing to give up until he could humbly receive the blessing he needed from God.
In that moment, that struggle, that's it. That's his ultimate transformation. It's where he finally gets the lesson his entire life has been trying to teach him.
I mean, think about where he started. Jacob, the supplanter, the guy who was always trying to grab, to scheme, to win things through his own cleverness. But now, after this, God gives him a brand new name, Israel. And this is the punchline to the entire story, folks. It means, let God prevail. He's not the supplanter anymore. He's become someone who's learned to let God take the lead, trusting that the real blessings will be given freely. And how do we know this change was real? Well, the proof is in what happened next. When Jacob finally meets Esau, there's no fight. Instead, they both just weep and they embrace. It's this beautiful, peaceful reunion full of forgiveness. The one thing his scheming could never fix was healed. Just like that, once he let God prevail.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's really this. Real, lasting blessings aren't things you can buy or scheme for or grab. They are given, freely, by God to anyone who is willing to live up to that name, Israel, to anyone who is willing to let God prevail in their life.
And that kind of leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? When you look at your own life, your challenges, your relationships, your goals, in what areas can you stop trying to force things, stop wrestling against them, and instead just let God